What's going on, folks? Whack FPV here, and today we are doing a companion video to what Spider Sugar just recently released as far as the batteries and the chupito. So the batteries that we're using is the Cnhl 1350 Speedy Pizza Pros on Spider's chupito, while on mine I'm actually using a 4S 3000 milliamp hour lithium ion pack from Pyrodrone. In this clip, you'll see me trying to chase Spider, and he pretty much leaves me in the dust, even though we're at the same throttle and using the same exact size prop. So here, I've sped up the flight, so that way you guys are not bored watching the entire thing as it had originally unfolded. But you can see how Spider's holding that throttle, pretty much not even really touching it, letting the wing do its thing, and only controlling the pitch and the roll of the chupito. So far the battery's holding up really well and sipping those amps like it's nothing. And here we are coming up to where Spider is actually going to break his previous personal best of 4.5 miles. So now I went ahead and slowed it down so that way we can show you that he hit that 5-mile mark on that 1350, still holding strong. And here's my flight right behind him, trying to catch up to him, holding it steady at just a little bit above half throttle. Chupito is still cruising at above 50 miles per hour, occasionally dropping down below that depending on wind resistance. But the battery itself, initially on launch, it did have like a heavy sag, but then recovered back up to approximately 4 volts per cell. So here is where I break my personal best and hit the 5-mile mark myself. Of course, about a minute or two later than Spider. So at this point, this is unknown territory for me. I haven't been out this far before. So knowing that I have a lithium ion, I decided to power through and see how far I was comfortable going before turning around while watching my voltage. So at this point, I'm calling out every quarter mile and letting them know exactly how my voltage and stuff is holding up, which at 3.67, 3.66, it's still doing fine. Of course, it's a lithium ion. Also surprised that Crossfire is holding up. DJI-03 is holding up, even though it has that occasional drop and then recovery. So flying with the 4S 3000 milliamp hour Lion versus the 1350 does give you some advantages. Yes, you lose out on power, but at the same time, you gain that endurance. Yes, you may not have the punch out that you want and need in critical situations, but it can have you last a lot longer. So now it becomes a matter of, do you want the punch out or do you want that endurance? And it all depends on your overall situation. So here you see Spider coming in at 3.63 volts per cell with a nice smooth landing. As you can see, I'm coming in on 3.47 or 3.46 volts per cell. Most lipos would have started sagging extremely hard at this point. With the Lion, it's lasting, it's holding steady, still have more than enough juice in the tank to continue flying for, you know, minutes on end. The battery does recover back up to roughly 3.6 volts per cell at rest. Now we're running the 6S 1500 milliamp hour versus the 6S 1850 milliamp hour. So Cnhl versus GMB. So in this next test, me and Spider agreed to actually hold our throttles at the same exact value to prevent too much of a difference and to give both batteries a fair chance. So at the 1 mile marker, both of our batteries are holding pretty much steady at 3.9 volts. So at the 2 mile marker is pretty much the same exact thing. Voltage is holding at 3.84 to 3.86 volts per cell. And man, Spider's making my wing look good. So here's where things start getting interesting. At this clip, the 3 mile mark, Spider's voltage is actually above 3.8, whereas at the same time, mine is below 3.8, even though I do have more milliamp hours. Alright, 4 mile marker. Voltage is holding at 378 for Spider, whereas mine is around the 375, 376 mark. And also at this point, we didn't realize we were also doing some antenna testing at the same time. So in this clip, you'll also see that my megabits per second for DJI is horrendous, whereas in the previous clip, his is pretty much high. Alright, the 5 mile mark. My battery is starting to get to 3.7, his is still holding strong at 3.75, 3.74. Alright, time for the creme de la creme. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, I said it in the correct context. So both wings are holding up pretty well, both batteries same thing, but in this next clip after mine, you will start to see the difference start cropping up. Alright, so here's where you start seeing the differences. I cut to the end just to get to the chase, but at 3.52, the battery for Spider just started falling off really hard. As you can see, he is babying that thing back in for landing. Whereas with mine, it was still holding somewhat steady at 3.5 per cell. It didn't try to drop off, surprisingly. And as you see, it recovered back up to 3.6 when I started letting off the throttle. So if you want to hit that 6 mile mark, you can do the Cnhl 1500, the Pyrodrone HypeJuice 3000 milliamp hour lithium ion pack, or the GMB 1850 milliamp hour pack. Thanks for watching and listening to my smooth sounding voice. Hopefully you didn't fall asleep.